tolerators. This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona, the show where my guest and I chat about some of the things we were conditioned to feel about ourselves, relationships, and the world around us. Today's guest, I'm going to try really hard to have some chill about, but Remy Kassimir is my hero.
Aww.
You are. She's the host of an amazing podcast called How Come, in which she's a champion in the cause in closing the pleasure gap and being more open about what makes us orgasm. I'm going to be talking to her about how to communicate better with partners about pleasure, and I'm going to try very hard to not just have this episode be and just like that rant.
I will also try. Thank you, Natalie, for having me. I'm very excited.
No problem. How many seasons do you think And Just Like That is going to end up having at the end of the day?
3.
3. All right.
Yeah.
3 is a good number.
Yeah,
3 is a good number.
Feels right.
Yeah. I think they'll get away with the second season and try real hard with that third. And then probably
I feel like we can't get enough. Like everybody's hate watching so much. You know what I mean? Like I would wake up, like I just was telling you just before that I had a tough sleep last night.
Mm-hmm.
In And Just Like That months, if I was up past midnight, I'd be like, yes, new episode, like right now, even like let's cringe.
How offended can I be by a show that I'm pretty sure I was led to believe would teach me about sex when I was younger?
Yeah, I the original Sex in the City, I think, taught us a lot of stuff, and I know that we don't want to make the episode about this, but it was a fixture, I think, for a lot of people's like early sex lives or whatever, and I didn't realize until like adulthood and rewatching it how many problematic things happened in the original that maybe made me feel differently about myself and about relationships and like, about queerness.
Isn't that always the kicker? You go back to these shows and you're like, oh, that's where that started. That's where all the whispers in my head started.
Yeah.
Or you have a conversation with some relatives and you go, that's where that whisper in my head started. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to pleasure, I honestly think I'm conditioned sexually to know that I'll never be satisfied. And I think I blame Hamilton and Lin-Manuel Miranda for that idea. I'll never be satisfied. Currently,
my friends like to sing Helpless at me, but not in the orgasm department, just because I'll never get up to like get my own food.
That's okay. Currently, if I had to describe my dating life, dates are boring, dicks are weak, and I'm Belle wondering if there's so much more than this provincial life.
Oh, I feel you, girl.
And that's where I'm at. How's it going over there when it comes to the pleasure field?
I'm alone and I have not boned. I don't know if your listeners know about How Come, but I started this podcast to learn how to have my first orgasm. And when I started it, I was living with my grandmother, who's now since passed away. And I can't help but keep moving into relatives' houses. And so I'm currently staying with my dad and like love him so much. But it is impossible to have an orgasm in a house, even when he's not here. Like I'm in my high school bedroom and it's like such a mind fuck, but not a body fuck. You know what like
right. No, I get that. It's like going home to my dad's house is like the unsexiest move of my life. And you're just like weighted but down by all of the things that you've ever felt when you were younger. And you're like, I can't get off here.
Like I remember feeling like unwanted in this room in high school, like by boys. And I remember feeling not knowing myself or like really like letting myself know myself, like in respect to like being queer and like I don't intend to stay here for long. I'm trying to find my own apartment, but like it does feel like I've regressed a bit.
Yeah. The one time I did have sex in my high school bedroom, I was made fun of by my partner.
What?
Yeah. He was
The
my
person
first.
that you were fucking,
Yeah, he made fun of me.
he was like, haha, you're fucking me here.
No, it wasn't even that. He made fun of me because I got excited about something, and we were fucking in my childhood bedroom, and because we had nowhere else to fuck, he was my first partner, and I ended up breaking part, like we got up and got dressed or something, and we had cracked my headboard a little bit, and I was like, look at the raw power of our sex. We broke furniture today. And I was like trying to be real dramatic and like enthused and turned on by it. And he's like,
Yeah.
who cares? And why do you care? And how do
Oh
we
my
even know that that
God.
happened?
I care about the raw power of your sex. I love that. I think
Thank
that's so
you.
impressive. There was this kid in high school that like notoriously broke a headboard, and I was like, I want to fuck that guy.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
think for like how alpha dominated like males in the Midwest are, you think that they'd be like, yeah, look, my dick broke your bed.
Yeah,
Ah,
you're like, let your toxicity be fun for a second.
for,
Hello. Like, why
for
did you just shame
one
me?
minute. Could you remind me? Because I always get the number
Yeah.
wrong when I'm telling my friends. How old were you when you first orgasmed?
28.
28. I always say 27. So now
I
I got to
started
retrain
the
my brain.
podcast at 27. And I think 27 is a nice number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like that number you're supposed to die at. And instead of that, I started a podcast. And then yeah, 28. And it was only like a few months later. You know,
Yeah.
like I it's crazy because I actually sat down to start the podcast at 27, recorded a few episodes, and then got so afraid that like the world would be like very grossed out by me, very icked by
Oh,
me,
yeah.
like look down upon me, feel bad for me, you know, because I would have a lot of conversations just in real life where I would say, yeah, I've never had an orgasm. People would look at me like, oh my God, you poor thing. You know, like, or they'd be like, oh, like, have any of your partners ever like liked you? Like,
Oh,
you know, like horrible things. And yeah, so I took a break, and it really ended up being that we started it when I was 28, like when I finally launched it when I was 28, and then 6 short weeks after I blew my load. For anybody who doesn't listen to the podcast, I accomplished my goal mad early. Um, and so obviously that's not even what the podcast is about anymore. We've like
no.
moved on to like other people's sexual goals and proclivities, and like, you know, just making people feel normal and not scared to talk about whatever it is that's on their mind, like the way that it had halted me for such a long time.
And it's so important, especially for, I think, people in the area where I grew up. So I grew up in Northwest Indiana, and now I'm in Ohio. And in the
And
Midwest,
Ohio is
Ohio.
your mind. I just watched The Last 5 Years the other night. This is going to be
Oh,
a musical episode, Natalie.
that's great. I love it. Actually, the last 5 years always bums me out because I'm like, you all could have just, I don't know, tried to not bum one another out. I don't know.
They weren't meant to
They
be.
weren't meant to be, and that's fine. Just like La La Land, it's fine. Um, but anyways, I feel like we're not urged or
Mhm.
even talked to about what it means to have sexual pleasure. We're just like thrown to the wolves and just be like, I
Yeah.
don't know, figure out what feels good.
Oh, see, figure out what feels good, I think, is a better thing to say than just strictly like, I feel like a lot of my sex ed was like, this is how not to have a baby.
Well,
You
yes, that
know,
was
like
also us.
pleasure was not part of the conversation,
Mm-mm.
which it should be.
Mhm.
Like I always like kind of joke that if you're trying to teach kids not to have a baby, like what can you do so many times a day that will never get you pregnant and still feels good is like masturbate, you know, like
Yeah.
I wish they had taught us masturbation or taught us like, yeah, have sex with somebody with the same genitals, you know,
Hmm.
like that, what those two things will never get you pregnant.
Right.
Um but it was very penis vagina sex, condoms, birth control, yeah,
Yeah.
and then like a lot of from our peers, I guess, at least a little
Yeah.
like sex negativity.
I also can't remember talking about sex with my peers very often, but I also remember turning 21 or 22 and being like, I have to get rid of my virginity. Like
Oh my God, yes.
it has to go. And we talk, so episode 3 is about how I lost my fake virginity, since virginity is just a construct. But
how you made your sexual debut.
How I made my sexual debut onto stage.
Yes.
And it was literally like I had 2 guys down to the wire, and I was like, I don't know, whoever's going to penetrate me so I can just move on and start actually like doing things and not having to have the weight of it on me.
Will you accept this penetration?
Will you please accept the penetration? So before you had orgasmed, was there much
it's
like
a hose ceremony, not a rose ceremony?
It's a hose ceremony. I love that. I recently broke up with the Bachelor franchise. I can't deal with it anymore, but let's revamp the show for HBO Max or something where it's just matching up people based off of sexual
on their sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I'll call HBO.
Call them, please. Let me know if patch me through.
I will. So before you had orgasmed, had you tried to talk to partners a lot about pleasure, or like what was starting to feel good and what wasn't?
So I will say that those people I mentioned who said, oh, maybe your partners have never liked you, were not so off the mark in so many ways. I don't know if this was an active thing or a subconscious thing, but I would seek out guys that didn't seem genuinely interested in me. And it was always really like me chasing them, and the prize was getting them, just being naked with them and having them or whatever. And these people, they wouldn't claim me as their girlfriend or whatever, especially you're saying you were a late in life debuter. I grew up in New York City where I was getting ridiculed at like 16 for not having had sex. And so this guy that swiped me, and who I decided that I was like, we're gonna do this. It was very like, I need to have sex. It was kind of mechanical. I need to have sex. I'm gonna have sex with you. We're gonna use a yellow condom from health class. It's gonna be hilarious. And we would have like secret sex and stuff because I was kind of embarrassed that he didn't want me to be his girlfriend, but I also was like training for sex with other people because I thought that you had to show up to sex ready. I didn't want to make the love of my life uncomfortable because my tight ass giant wouldn't let him in. So I was like, let's loosen you up with this starter guy.
That's right.
So in my attempt to do that, I was very hole focused. I was thinking the sex was just for the guy to enjoy, or the person with the penis. And I would really cater to him. And no, we never had conversations about what was good for me. When he would go down on me, it kind of just felt like a checklist thing, that it was like, I was in the mental state that I didn't think people liked going down on vulvas. So I'd always like feel bad about it. And I would just be like, okay, come back up. Like, you checked off the box. You licked the box, you checked it off. Right. Come back up here.
I remember telling a former partner, like when he went for it, I was like, you don't really have to. Because like I was so excited after like 6 years of chasing him.
Yeah.
That I was like, look, let's just fuck so I can be like, yep, I got to fuck you. And then, but like, you don't have to do anything that's going to jeopardize this.
Yeah. I constantly felt like, oh, don't lose the guy, like, don't, to quote Sex and the City, don't upset the penis, like very conscious about the other person, very not conscious about myself. And but yeah, so no, I was not discussing my own pleasure until my first boyfriend, when I graduated college I think we were like 2 years out and like into our relationship as well. And I said to him one day, I was like, I don't think I've had an orgasm because like one of my friends was talking about it, and like it seems like it's more common than I thought. Like growing up, I just thought like we didn't,
Mhm.
or like there were people with vulvas who came and I just wasn't one of them. Like
Yeah.
I would see like Samantha Jones getting 3 pumps and screaming, and I'd be like, well, I've had a lot of sex and like that doesn't happen to
No.
me.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just not one of those people. And yeah, I finally said to him, I was like, hey, I don't think I've done this. And he was like, oh shit, like this is something that we like should work on. And we ended up buying a rabbit by Charlotte York's referral. We were using it wrong. I
Yeah.
know that now. Because I was still focused on holes. So he would like use the dick side on me and
Yeah.
stuff. And like it was great. And I loved like just having somebody like along for the ride and trying with me. But yeah, we needed to become more clitorate.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I kept denying that the clit was like essential. Um
Because no one talks
so
to us about our clits.
yeah, and if
Like,
they do it, like it sounds like the dirtiest word.
hmm,
Like I had such a tough time even saying clit for the longest time.
it's like a funny word almost. If it's not dirty, it's like you say it and you immediately want to giggle. Like, haha, where's my clit? I don't know. They don't teach me very great anatomy in high school. I don't know. But yeah, I remember the first time I almost orgasmed, and I think I
Mhm.
counted it as an orgasm. So it was with my first partner, the guy who made fun of me in my childhood bedroom.
Wonderful.
We were in his bedroom. I had used the last of my like McDonald's money for college to like buy handcuffs at some like shitty sex store we have on the highway. Like my college friends and I went to have a giggle and I bought these fuzzy handcuffs.
Mm.
So I'm handcuffed to the foot of his bed, and I think he was going down on me or something. And the initial feeling of it freaked me out. So I
Uh,
like remember just like scooting back and
yeah.
him laughing about that.
This
And then me,
guy,
this
stop
guy,
laughing.
stop laughing. And he's
I love to
like,
laugh during sex, but not if they're like laughing at you. It's
no.
like
So he
mortifying.
started laughing and he's like, where the hell are you going? I was like, well, clearly nowhere because I'm stuck. I'm handcuffed. And I remember like unhandcuffing myself. And I was like, I don't know, try to do it again. And I don't remember if I fully came or if I just like had that, like, there's always like the initial crest of the orgasm and
Yes,
then like
yes,
the
yes,
full
yes.
but I think
You
in
were
my
enjoying
brain,
it
yeah,
up the roller coaster. Yeah.
but I think I just like checked it off in my list. I was like, oh, good job. He made me come. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
was the only time it happened during our relationship.
Uh-huh.
He was also a guy who would shush me during sex.
Jesus.
He didn't want, so when it comes to like me displaying pleasure, I have all of
Uh-huh.
these hangups about how that should go because all of the feedback I've received from partners is
Was
like,
negative.
is
Yeah.
negative. And
Yeah.
I already
Oh,
have
I'm so
this,
sorry. That fucking sucks.
it does fucking suck. And I have all of this like childhood hang up because I was always the child who was told that I was too dramatic.
Oh,
So then,
yes. Me too.
yeah. So to hear it in the bedroom, it's like, I don't know, I'll just lay here and you'll kind of do what you do to me. And sometimes it'll feel good and
Yeah,
sometimes it
exactly.
won't. And then at the end of it, I'll just tell you, it's okay that I didn't come because
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I
I
just like
just like,
you.
yeah, I like the whole experience of sex. I don't just focus on the one thing that like became my
Yeah.
tagline.
So we're both recovering pick-me's, I suppose.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Um, there was a lot of my life where I just felt lucky to be having sex as a
Me
plus
too.
size woman
Mm.
because it's like, oh, he like put aside the fact that my body is disgusting.
So repulsive.
So
Yeah.
repulsive. I have
Yeah.
curves.
Yeah.
Like, because I love
I
that.
mean, I will say I am not a plus size person. I I've been pretty small my whole life, but I did grow up on the Upper East Side where
Mhm.
I am curvy.
Yeah.
And I have had people suggest to me that I should plus size model because the barometer is so fucking out of whack here.
Yeah.
And that very same person that I was telling you about would never date me with my big butt and my big titties and my choopy arms, but
Mhm.
he would start dating these like wayfish girls with no titty and no hips or whatever. And not that that's a, there's nothing wrong with any body type, but he wasn't into that body type. He
Yeah.
was just into society wanting that body type for him to date. So
Mhm.
it would be like, okay, stick figures for girlfriends. And he would complain to me, oh, I don't like their personalities. And I said, yeah, because you're not dating them for their personalities.
Right.
You're not even dating them for their bodies, which is like, you shouldn't be doing that. But like, I was like, when we're in private, you love my fat ass. You
Mhm.
love the jiggle, like, but it was, yeah, it was like, oh, I got him,
Mhm.
like he's doing it, even though like this isn't something that he wants. Oh, he must be really attracted to me.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm so lucky that like, it
I'm
sounds,
different.
yeah, I'm
I had a
different.
Yeah, I had a former partner where the whole theme of it was, but I'm different than all of your girlfriends because before we were fucking, we were friends. And he would
Same.
and he would spend like all of his like emotional friendship time with me
Mm-hmm.
and then date other people and then want
Yeah.
to complain about them to me and I'd be like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
I think part of me believes that it was like, well, if you were skinnier, he would have just like immediately had dated you because he had already liked your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's I was talking about this the other day with a family member because I was trying to explain toxic masculinity, and I was like, and it goes down to like things that like you wouldn't even think about, but like I've seen men body shame other men's girlfriends because they
Hmm.
thought, oh, she's not hot enough, and like, thinking of women as trophies instead of humans, and thinking of bodies as there's only one type that you could be attracted to,
Right.
especially like for like a social status thing. And I've seen people be like, oh, your girlfriend's fat or whatever, or your girlfriend's ugly, like maybe not even to the
Hi.
person's face. It's just like he could do so much better, or, like, or even she could do so much better. And I think it's
Hmm.
just like confining people to like everybody has to like the same body type
Right.
is so detrimental, but it's also unreasonable. So many of us like different types, and that's the beauty of humanity, is that like we all will be able to find someone who enjoys us. But
Yeah.
instead people are competing for like the same 8 people that maybe they don't even necessarily like, they just think that that looks good for them.
Mhm. Also, all of the men that I've had sex with, not very conventionally good looking. Like I'm not having sex with
Oh
the
really?
McDreamies of the
Uh-huh.
world.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally like, and I find that that's something that plays out in our society too, where it's like women like will date men who are less attractive than them or less attractive than the norm. And it's just like, it's
The
something
king
that
of queens effect.
it's the king of queens effect. I knew you had a term for it. I was like, what's that term? I
I just made it up.
Oh, I was like, it's that sitcom thing where it's like, oh, he's funny, so
Schlubby husband
yeah,
who
he
is
gets to
fun.
get laid.
I have a very king of queens couple in my family where the guy is like not the best looking or whatever, and the woman is like so fucking gorgeous,
Hmm.
but they love each other, like
Exactly.
she loves his personality, they vibe, like neither of them is there for the personality. So like in those couples I would never be like, oh, like she doesn't deserve him or whatever, but it does
Mhm.
seem to um that seems to be the thing all the time. It's
Yeah.
never the um unconventionally attractive woman
Mhm.
and like the fucking hot ass guy, like that is unfathomable, I think,
Mhm.
in our society, unfortunately.
I also find myself, so I'm a very assertive person in my social life. And
Hmm.
I used to be a teacher. So you would have to be like the show leader of the room when I was teaching. So I would have to
Yeah.
be assertive in my job. So when it comes to my relationships, my go-to is to just like roll my eyes and be like, can't you just figure it out? I have to figure out everything every
Mm,
moment of the day. So I feel
mhm.
like that's also a big block to me talking about like, well, I don't know, did it feel good? Can't you just figure it out?
But you got to get past that, girl, though.
I know. Do you have any tips?
Um, okay, so this is something I was very blamey before I had my first orgasm
Hmm.
because I would literally like, glare at my ex-boyfriend like while he was trying to do shit to me, and
Just
I'd
like
just
so irritated, like, look at you.
be like
Just
like audibly like just like sighing and like would be so accusatory in my head, you
hmm
know, of being like, you fucker, you don't even know what to do. But I had to realize that like I didn't know what to do and I wasn't really helping him along.
hmm
And so I always say, and I know that you've had your own orgasms, but for the people who haven't, um, definitely don't expect your partner to do it for you if you can't do it for yourself. Because
right.
I say it's like being like, hey, figure out this 9-sided Rubik's Cube. No one's ever done it, and oh, you're naked. So go ahead, you know, and it's like
Figure it out.
that's so much pressure for that person. So first I would say to, you know, figure yourself out so that you can give good instructions.
Hmm.
And then second, kind of absolve yourself of the instructions that you've seen in mainstream man-made porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Male-made porn, all porn is man-made, is human-made. But there's no dog setting up cams in your house. But
The robots
um
haven't figured out how to do it. Alexa hasn't figured out how to just start producing porn.
oh, she has. Alexa is very she's a minx. But yeah, so absolve yourself of harder,
Uh,
faster,
hmm
you know, because those are the only words that I had ever heard in mainstream porn, mainstream media. You fuck me, you know, when the things that I need to instruct people are, will you just touch my back?
hmm
Can you kiss the back of my neck? Um, Softer. Ooh, left. You know, like you don't really hear those little minor
hmm
adjustments, which are the things that it's really like what you need to be saying. Most people don't want it harder.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to say, "Oop, that's a little too sensitive for me. Ooh, can we change that up?" Because it's just not the script that we've seen.
No.
Um, I always recommend practicing like pre-sex, practicing with a back rub or a back tickle, um,
Oh.
and learning how to instruct somebody through that. Because, like, you know, when somebody's been giving you a bad massage, like you could either sit through it and be like,
hmm
maybe it'll get better, chances it won't. You know, you have to be like, oh, can you do circles? Oh, can you go down? Can you scratch the middle of my back? Okay, higher. Okay, higher, higher, higher to the right.
Yeah.
You know, and once you get a good back rub, then maybe take it to your genitals or
hmm
and make it like a more holistic experience. Like
Yeah.
I always thought that sex was right to the gens, you
hmm
know, and I've had um experiences even like in recent years with my boyfriend where like he'll go try to go down on me and he'll go right for the puss or whatever and I'll go wait, I'm not warmed up yet. Can you again start at the neck, start at the back, kiss my shoulders, you know, make my whole body feel involved, maybe give me a rub down,
hmm
um and like acknowledge that what has been called foreplay is part of sex. You
Yeah.
know, warming you up is part of sex. Getting your body ready is part of sex. If the person sees that you're not wet and they're just spitting on your crotch and trying to force their dick in,
hmm
that's not focused on your pleasure. That's focused on penetration.
hmm
But sex isn't just penetration. You know, we know that from couples with two vulvas who are coming all the time and having, you
Yeah.
know, like the pleasure gap between lesbians, um, at least cis lesbians, which we have the research for right now, is much higher. It's like 90% both partners are getting off both times. Whereas
Right.
with a cis woman and a cis man, I think the gap is something like the women are only coming like 60% of the time and the men are
Mhm.
coming like 90% of the time. And it's because of this script that it's like penetration is sex. It's because we're on different time schedules that like a penis will come faster in most cases,
Mhm.
or easier. Um, and we have been raised with, okay, well, sex is how many times does he come? And the same thing that I was thinking, that it's for his pleasure or whatever. So yes, I'd have a lot of sex,
Yeah.
but it was not good.
Right.
Um, a lot of pumps and dumps, but like, where was Remy in this?
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
always appreciate how on how come you talk about the body worship moments of sex where
Mm-hmm.
you want your body to literally be a thing of worship during your intimacy.
I
And it
do.
yeah, and it's something I've never had the balls to pull off asking for. Like to be I can't remember anyone taking the time to appreciate my body.
Yeah.
And yoga and meditation has really made me start to have a more intimate appreciation with my body.
Oh, good.
So it
Yeah.
would be really great if I could get to the point where I could like breach that conversation with my partner to be like, hey, instead
Yeah.
of treating my body like a hole to be filled, could you remember that I'm a person that you like? And then maybe like bring
Yeah.
that
Step
into the
one,
bedroom.
see me as a human.
Right. Could
Um,
you?
would love that for me.
Right.
I love that you're doing that yoga and meditation, though. That's something that we've been talking about a lot recently, and it's something that I wish I was practicing more. Like, I give a lot of
Mhm.
advice that I don't take myself. Um, but I will say, I think body worship starts with self body worship.
Yeah.
You kind of have to believe it yourself, because I've even, you know, in my relationship now, before I had self body worshipped, I'd say, oh, can you compliment me and stuff?
Can you
And he
tell me I look
would.
nice?
Yeah, he would. But I didn't believe it necessarily. So it's kind of like a lost cause too, because
Mhm.
then, like, instead of glaring at him, you're rolling your eyes at him. And I kind of just needed to sit with myself and like be able to make love to myself and be able
Mhm.
to worship my own body. And this was something that I had to learn even from the podcast, which seems so obvious, but like, I didn't know that I could touch my own boobs in a
Mhm.
loving way. I didn't know I could grab my own ass in like a sexy way. I didn't know I could kiss my own shoulder, which I do sometimes,
Yeah.
like when I'm jacking off. Like, it's like a real like self-love session.
Yeah.
um and so now when I get into the room with my boyfriend, I can believe it more when he's loving me,
Mhm.
because
One of
I
the
can love me.
one of the things I've been doing, because before it was during the shelter in place and doing yoga in just my sports bra and my leggings was really
That what you
helping.
call lockdown, shelter in place? I love
Yeah.
that. What a PR spin.
I think that's what DeWine called it. That was the term I was
I
given by
love that.
someone.
I love it.
Yeah, the shelter in place.
Shelter in place.
Um, so I was doing a lot of yoga. I was unemployed and I was doing a lot of yoga every day in just my sports bra and my leggings. So I would
Mm-hmm.
get to watch each, like more of my body being able to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish things. And the more I saw my body accomplishing, the better I felt about my body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Holiday depression was a bitch, and I have fallen off of like going to the gym or exercising at a regular pace. So now when I putting on my body cream in the morning, I
Mm-hmm.
literally tell myself I deserve love and that I deserve
Mm-hmm.
love and care that is soft. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something else to it. Now I'm going to forget my own mantra, but it's like I deserve love and care that is soft. Um oh,
Attentive.
yeah, may the old hurts be soothed and the
Mm-hmm.
rough spots be smoothed. And it like because I'm witchy, so I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
casting a lotion spell on me every day. But I think like a lot of it in my head is that I'm a taskmaster. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, boom, we had sex. And now we're
Mm-hmm.
just going to keep on having the same sex that we're having. Also,
You're mechanical, baby.
I am. It's the
Me too.
Capricorn in me.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
I saw Capricorn just seething.
Yeah. It's the
Just
Capricorn in me.
and
It's just like, you
I'm a
can't.
Virgo. We're very
Mhm.
like get it done.
Get it done.
You know, which is not what sex is about.
No.
It's about living in the moment. It's very counterintuitive to us.
And the best way, and I've tried to explain this to partners, but I also haven't had very many partners lately who want to invest the time in me. So like I've recently had a secret partner, or I had an insecure partner.
Yeah.
So I tell them, I go, the best way to get me off is to literally make sex a marathon where we're taking water breaks and food breaks, or we're watching a show on Netflix, giggling, and then going right back at it. Like the longer my body has to equip itself to you wanting to have sex with it, the easier it is for me to experience pleasure at some point.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how have they been taking that?
So the last time I told a guy that I was almost there, and he had thought
stopped.
that well, no.
Okay.
We were finished, and he was like very like hyper focused on just like all of the steps. So he was like, you should go to the bathroom now. And I was like, well, the thing of it is like I was almost done. So I was hoping that you could like try a couple more things to see if we could get there. And he sighed. Oh. And then he fingered me for a little bit. And then I was like, you have to relax those fingers because they're hurting. And then I was like, I'm ready to go to bed. I'm just ready to go to bed. Also, the guy before.
Feel the frustration in the room.
Yes.
On both parts.
On just both parts. And he was, my last partner was so hyper focused on the fact that he couldn't make, we hadn't figured out how to make me orgasm, that it was literally like he was failing homework every time we were having sex.
Yeah.
Because I would like hand him my vibrator and be like, okay, let's try this, because my trusty satisfier, my knockoff womanizer.
Don't even call it that. First of all, I'm not going to talk shit on womanizer.
No.
But it was the first clitoral suction toy that got me there. It was the first toy that ever got me there. But it's fucking expensive.
It is expensive.
And I could not in good conscience keep recommending this thing that never gave us a discount code. Ever. And I wouldn't say Satisfyer is a knockoff. I would say it's a more affordable and equally, if not better version. There are so many other versions. If you guys are like, you've pinched for cash. There's the Girl's Best Friend from Sweet Vibrations, which we have a promo code for. How come? And it's like only $30 with the promo code, and it's like just as good as these other toys. And like, I just hate price being like a barrier to pleasure. So I want you guys to know about that. Also, the +1 Air Pulse Arouser, I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
And you can get them at Target, and it's the same warranty as any other electronic at Target. So if it like dies after 2 years, you can just get a new one.
That's hella cool.
Hella cool.
I'm always so surprised by what I can find at Target. Like I found period panties for less expensive at Target, and I was like, here I was not trying them because they're so expensive, and they were sitting at Target all along.
What was the brand?
Thinks.
Oh, so Thinks does less expensive for Target. I love that.
Yeah.
There's another one I just heard about, Proof. I haven't tried them.
Yeah. I love it. I barely think about my period when I'm on period panties. My sister begs me not to call them my period panties, but I like alliteration. She's like, don't, my pee-pees. So anyways, so I hand him my Satisfier, my girl, and I'm trying to guide him. I'm like, do you want to watch me use it? Do you want to? And I'm trying to guide him. And it's just like the mounting frustration. And then another fun little Capricorn trait, I just become so frustrated that it's not like I'm putting in all of this work and it's still not working. It's such a vibe kill.
Yeah. Oh my God, totally. Well, what about when, because you were saying that you offered to have him watch. Was that ever, like, did that ever come to fruition?
No, I think he immediately went, I think it was another sigh and a no. We weren't very compatible. I ended up dating him because I was on a web version of Love is Blind.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. Also detrimental to my soul, but it never aired. So now I'll never be on The Bachelor.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Um, but and we weren't compatible. And every time I would go, it's really easy for me to orgasm if we're having sex from behind. If I'm like bent over at a 90-degree angle and just like really rammed into that bed, it like hits me at all ends and it's great. And he's like, I've never done that before. And I'm like, cool, let's explore it.
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with going down on me because I'm like, I don't come at all with penetration. It has to be that like it has to be the satisfier like right on my clit, sucking and
Yeah.
blowing away. And
Yeah.
then again, I've never done that before. Well, cool. Are you open to it? And it's just
Mhm.
like the shutdown. I see myself
Yeah.
growing in
Uh-huh.
the realm of communicating about
That's good.
pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't have access, or I haven't found access to partners who want to also be a partner in communicating about
Yeah.
pleasure. And now we have this fun, like you were mentioning queerness. We have
Yeah.
this fun little situation where I am no longer sexually attracted to men.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And
How do I
I'm
take that pill? No, I'm just kidding.
and now I'm 33, and I think this is an idea that I got off of Sex in the City. And it's
Mhm.
that like no experienced women who have sex with other or vulva owners or
Mhm.
non-cis men want
Mhm.
to train you on how to be queer or do the sex stuff with them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that episode where they were like, if you don't eat pussy, then you're not gay.
Right.
Whatever. It's like, no, if I don't eat pussy, I haven't yet.
Right. Or I haven't done it
Um,
yet.
yeah, exactly.
And
I
then
have you been on the apps talking to
so I
anyone?
am on Bumble and
Uh-huh.
I put both women and men on it.
Mhm.
Um, Fun thing about dating apps in the Midwest, when you are interested in non-penis owners in the
Mhm.
Midwest,
Mhm.
it's a lot of couples where a
Oh yeah,
non-penis
here
owner
too.
is trying to convince you to have sex with her man as well. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's also I hate dating apps. I hate it.
I mean, they're rough.
They're rough. I miss the days where because I also feel like after quarantine, the whole climate of just like having a random social encounter has changed.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I go to my favorite bars and everyone's in their little groups and no one's mingling anymore.
Mhm.
And then it's almost weird to be the person who's just like bouncing, like, what are you doing? What are you drinking? It's probably just all of my after COVID anxiety or
Which we
something,
all have.
which
We
we
like
all have.
my funniest favorite thing about I do stand up as well, and coming
Mm-hmm.
back into the New York stand up scene, I was laughing so hard because every night I'd be out, either I was apologizing to somebody for my weird behavior, or they apologized to me, or
Mm-hmm.
would text me the next day, I'm sorry, I was so socially weird. I don't know what, like, we're all just like so fucking weird right now. And at
Yeah.
least, like, with comics, you can admit it. I would say with civilians, it might not be as open to admitting it,
Yeah.
because you guys, we're used to being normal, or
Mm-hmm.
not, or abnormal rather. Like, we're used to talking about our differences and like what's making us like weird in the moment. Whereas like somebody with a non-performative job is like, you don't really talk about that.
Yeah.
I will say though, if you are on Bumble and you can get past the couples, and you write a bio that is very honest,
Oh yeah.
people will respond to that well. I feel like I'm a very late in life come outer,
Yeah.
but that has actually been attractive to some women
Okay.
because they're like, ooh, like newbie, like, and you have to avoid the predatory ones that are like,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do with you? Um, but I will say, yeah, if you write something being like newly queer, looking to have fun and potentially a relationship, or like newly come out,
Yeah.
That's a good conversation starter. I think there's a lot of women um, that came out during the pandemic. TikTok made us all realize our bisexuality.
Yes.
And so obviously it could be clunky with two people just trying to figure it out, but you're at the same point. And I do think that that is one of the amazing things about sex with somebody with the same genitals is because we aren't given that script again.
Yeah.
You just have to be there and figure out what you like together. It's more like innocent
Mhm.
and really just like following the fun instead of following like what you think you should be doing.
Yeah. I think that falls into a lot of sexual relationships where, like, Whitney Cummings has this great bit where
Uh-huh.
she says, I feel like after the first time I have sex with a guy, I know everything about his ex-girlfriend because it's
Mm.
like he's just
Yeah.
performing all of the sex in the ways that he's known how to perform the sex.
My
And
friend
you're
Caitlin Palufo has a very similar joke, and I actually had written a similar joke in my head that I haven't performed because I've been seeing Caitlin do it for such a long time. But she'll be like, "Really, Emily, a fist? That's what you?" Okay, not for me, but like, love that for you.
I also feel like as a late bloomer, I just feel because I also go for long stretches without partners because
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy I get bored on dating apps very easily because you invest time texting a
Mm-hmm.
person or whatever and then you go to meet them and there's like no chemistry once whatsoever and then you go
Mm.
home and your friends are like how was your date and I was like another boring one da da da.
Yeah. Can I
So
suggest something to you?
mhm.
Are there any sex parties available where you
Listen,
are?
the moment so the show used to have a co-host Dina and I listened to I believe because I jump around with your podcast. It's something about the way that Apple formats it that I never actually know where I'm in the timeline.
She's
So I'm
gone rogue. I love that.
so I'm always just clicking. But
Yeah.
it was your first episode where you had gone to the sex club.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember texting her. I was like, I definitely want a sex club episode on to
Mm-hmm.
all the men I've tolerated before, which means that I want to go to a sex club.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
excuse.
Dayton,
Oh, it's for content, not
right.
my content.
Right. For content, not to because I have maybe it's a romantic vision. I feel like sex clubs are and I've explained this to friends before when I said it once at a party and they went, "Really?" And I was like, "Yes." I go because sex clubs are a Capricorn's dream when it comes to exploring and experimenting because there are rules and regulations.
There are rules and regulations, and everybody is there
Mhm.
for a specific goal. Like when you're
Yes.
going on a dating app, I feel like the goal is it's more like a job interview to figure out if like you could be the main person in that person's life. And it's
Right.
like very like ooh, like affronting. Like
Mhm.
who do I have to be tonight to like trick you into dating me or whatever? Whereas like a sex club, it's like yeah, I'm sure you can meet a romantic partner there, but you're there for sex, or you're there to
Right.
witness sex, or you're
Mhm.
there for a curiosity, and it's not about relationships, it's about pleasure.
Yeah.
It's like it's much more pleasure centric, which is um great for a Capricorn or a Virgo or
Mhm.
somebody that's just very like literal,
Yeah.
because you're like, okay, this is the goal. I know what I can do here. And I also will say, um in reference to what we were talking about with body types and those insecurities, like people at those clubs are much more free about
Mm.
what they like and um open to the types of bodies that they like, and not even open, like ready to worship, like
Yeah.
I could see you getting fucking fucked the shit out of at a party.
Thank
you
you.
know no, you're so welcome. Like I think you might actually have you heard of the canosexual?
No.
Ashley Manta, she's amazing. She's a great sex educator. She also couples cannabis use with
Mm.
sex, and that is something that's really helpful for me. And it's something that is really prominent at the sex club that I went to, which was like, it's a very like cannabis-y environment, which is like different from drunk sex, right? Because
Yeah.
drunk sex, you can feel kind of out of control and like maybe kind of disgusting about your own body or whatever. And yeah, I think incorporating cannabis, and whether it's CBD or, you
Yeah.
know, full on smoking, like it's nice. And it also reminds you to like breathe. Like it's
Mhm.
part of like just like being in your body. Like you have to be inhaling when you're smoking. And like a
Yeah.
lot of times that we get pent up, like, I don't know. I notice like when I'm very stressed, even when I'm just like posting a long Instagram story, I'll hold my breath and my
Mhm.
boyfriend will go, "You haven't breathed in 5 minutes." You know? So like, and the breath is very important to getting into your body
Yeah.
and calming down your nervous system and stuff. So like if you are
Mhm.
tightened up, it takes that much longer to get loosened up.
Yeah. I
Um,
am. So I was listening
so
to
a sex party with a joint is
a sex party with a gummy or
my
a joint.
doctor's recommendation to you.
I was listening to your episode. I think this one was the one with Erica Spera, who I'm obsessed with now.
I love her.
And you were talking about how sometimes it's the mental block that blocks us off from pleasure the most, where it's
Hell
like,
yeah.
because Taskmaster again, I'm like, okay, now take off your clothes. Okay, now he's
Right,
taking off
right.
his clothes. And I'm just like thinking through it and not present through it,
Mm-hmm.
which is so weird as I've dedicated myself to like meditation and manifesting and all of it. And then as soon as I get into the bedroom, I become like the Catholic schoolgirl who's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel that. I think that's a lot of us. And I think you can forgive yourself
Mm-hmm.
too. Um, like I have been told that I had sex mechanically by people
Yeah.
before. Like, can you imagine how detrimental that is to someone's psyche? Like, the next time that you're having sex, am I mechanical? Am I,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's something you can unlearn, and
Yeah.
it's not like a negative thing. You can check in with yourself and say, am I being mechanical right now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
from meditating that a lot of it is like thoughts coming in and then pushing them out,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
like you can bring that into your like sex practice. Um, if you're with a person that you're comfortable enough with, maybe like share it with them
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, I'm getting in that place." Now, I hate to say that to people who aren't necessarily in a couple because it is
Yeah.
so hard
It
to find
is.
somebody who's gonna be willing to do. Like people are trash for the most part. Um, They are, and it's not
Yeah.
even their fault. It's like their conditioning. So that's why I think finding people in those other
Mm.
settings who have done some of the work
Yeah.
and want to help you do the work as well is really nice.
Yeah. Um, my second partner,
Mm-hmm.
who felt like he could tell me a bunch of things while we were in bed because we had been friends for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
He told me one time, I think it was after the second time we had sex, he went, Natalie, you're very quiet to the point of silent when we have sex. And I went, what? He goes, never know what's going on in your head because like literally
Mm-hmm.
silent and just like fixed on a point in the wall. And I was like, oh, well, my ex used to shush me. And he went, what the fuck? Like,
That's a nice moment,
I know,
though.
he was so nice. We had a moment on the podcast where I shared that my first partner and I had sex on the floor a lot because he didn't
Mm-hmm.
want his bed making noise and alerting his roommates that we were having sex.
Right.
And part of having sex with the handcuffs meant that my head kept ramming into the foot of his bed. And I just, like, there was
Uh-huh.
no
Right,
doing
right, right,
anything about
right.
it. So the first time my second partner and I had sex, he realized that my head was mushing into the corner of his wall and he stopped and went, Natalie, how long has your head been hitting the wall? And I was like,
Oh.
I don't know. And he's like, again, there is room we
to
can
say
move.
something. Yeah.
We can move so your head isn't hitting the wall. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I remember texting my friend. I was like, he just said the most romantic thing to me. He said that my head doesn't have to hit anything just because he's penetrating me. What a doll. But
Wow,
he
the
was
bar is so low. I love it.
the bar is so low. He was constantly, and I almost wish, so I was having sex with him right before I moved here. And we had what I would like call a very emotionally volatile parting, because I think both of us didn't want to admit that there were deeper feelings than there were about our friendship transferring into a sex ship. Um, so I wish we had had the opportunity to have sex more often, because I really think he was trying to undo a lot of the things that had just like taken up space in my brain to be like, Natalie,
Yeah.
I would like sex to be good for you too. And then like he was like my unicorn, and now we are not even in touch anymore.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, I think it's like maybe not the best way that he brought it up, that he's like, oh, you're so quiet, I never know what's going on. But
Yeah.
like at least that's telling you that like he wants to know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to check in with you. And like the fact that like you could talk about your former partner and that he was like upset by that, like I feel like that's like a lot of camaraderie and like
Yeah.
sweetness.
Yeah.
Um
He is
and
the
you can find that in other people.
Yeah, he was one of the reasons why when I reflected back on our friendship situationship, I was like, I really do think that I have to be emotionally invested in you, or at least mentally stimulated by you, to be turned on by you.
Oh yeah, I feel very demisexual as well.
Because it makes me feel like there's an investment in me too. Like,
Hmm.
oh, you've invested into getting to
Because
know
that's
me.
something we never fucking got.
Hmm.
Like it's it sucks
Yeah.
to have fucked those people, but also like I'm excited for you because I know that it's only going to get better from here.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited for me too. I'm so
Yeah,
excited that I finally got to talk to you in the most in-person way I can talk to you right now,
in
with
my bed.
in your bed, in my artist loft and in your bed. Maybe next time Gracie can join, because I'm obsessed with your cat.
Oh, my Choochie, she hasn't even visited me this morning. I'm
I
so
know.
mad.
I don't know where Penelope is, but I'll send you a picture of her later, because
Penelope.
yes, my little parking lot cat that I saved from the
Oh,
rain.
that's so cute.
Yeah. But I'm so glad, because every once in a while we DM, and I totally blamed
Hmm.
you for being the reason I watched, and just like that, but it's because I have FOMO. And I was like, oh, if it's bad, I want to know why it's bad. And I've really appreciated all of the support that you put into the companions, me personally,
Oh, of
the
course.
podcast. You're doing the good work.
Well, I love you guys. And like, yes, I'm helping you, but you don't realize how much the companions have helped
Yeah.
me. Um, I was really feeling broken and
Hmm.
different and just gross and horrible. And then it was so wonderful to be able to start a platform where people weren't just like, oh, we find that interesting, but they were like, oh, me too. Like I'm
Yeah.
having the same issue and stuff. And so it was like, okay, we're all in this together. And
Hmm.
like now thousands of companions around the world, whether they have a vulva or a penis, have had their first orgasms from following my
Right.
assignments and stuff. And I did not start it out to help. I started it very selfishly, and the helping has just been like a nice byproduct where
Yeah.
it's nice people like you say that I'm doing the Lord's work.
I get
Um,
I get so geeked whenever a tolerator tells me like, oh no, something very similar, or like that helped
mhm,
me reprocess something. Mostly because like I started the podcast as a woman who felt like she had no voice for the things
mhm,
that had happened to her. And a
mhm,
lot of her narrative was written for her
mhm.
and just kept replaying in her head. And I was like, I'm going to tell my side of it,
Yeah.
and just be like, fuck your narrative of it. This is how I actually process that to happen to me.
Um, this might get too intense, but did you not feel heard as an adolescent?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, me
I
too.
don't feel heard by the people who didn't hear me as an adolescent, as an
Or
adult.
as an
Like,
adult. Yeah, I
right.
have the same thing. I literally, we just hit this milestone in therapy where I was talking about the podcast, and he was like, and I was talking about other situations with family, and he's like, so I feel like you feel that you've never been heard, and
Yeah.
that's why you are worming your way into people's ear holes. And I'm like, yeah, fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you have found the same way to like unleash who you are,
Mhm. Thank
because
you.
it deserves to be out there, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can't keep having sex with people who shush you or aren't excited for a headboard to break. Are you fucking kidding? Like
No.
you're the weirdo. And if you're listening, you're the weirdo.
You're
Just so
the
you
weirdo.
know.
All right. Well, we have two we have two traditions on To All the Men I've tolerated before. We have to grow and then we have to move forward in joy. So you'll share your biggest takeaway from learning how to discuss pleasure with your partners. And maybe it's from the whole overarching of starting How Come, and then we'll manifest for the future what we're hoping about for orgasming and pleasure in the future.
Mm-hmm. So the growth aspect. Yes, I think the same thing that I said before is like
Mm-hmm.
learn how to speak up, but not in a accusatory way, and
Yeah.
just a way that's like taught me this. Sex with Emily, great podcaster. She taught me about this thing called the compliment sandwich,
Oh,
which
yeah.
you can use in your normal life. You can use at your job or whatever. It's basically telling somebody something that you want and sandwiching it between two very positive statements about them or about the experience. So, say you want your partner to go down on you for 20 minutes next time, because that's what you want. You would say, the last time we fucked, it was so hot. You were just so sexy to me. And you know what would be even hotter is I would really like if the next time we're having sex, you could go down on me and we could set a timer for like 20 minutes. I just think it would be really fun, because you're so good with your hands, you know? So something nice, something you want, something else nice. Um, and people are more amenable to that instead of just
Mm.
like, can you just go down on me? You know, like nobody
Yeah.
wants that. And that's how it comes out of us sometimes. I've done it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So have some grace. My cat, have some grace for other people. Speak to them how you would want to be spoken to if they were asking you for something. Do you want the guy to just shove your head down there? No.
No.
Baby, you're so hot. I love your tits. Would you mind if I fucked them? Because I just think your skin is so soft. You
Yeah.
know, like
Way better than how I was asked to be titty fucked.
put your tits together.
You're right. Yeah.
And then they spit on you. Like,
I just don't understand where they get the audacity to believe
porn,
porn.
baby, and the patriarchy. We haven't gotten too much into society, but it's real.
I think my biggest takeaway from listening to How Come to forming a relationship with you where I feel like I can reach out to you via DMs and this conversation is I have to get over the voices whispering in my head that it's too late or I'm not worth it or anything to start experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to stop telling people that I know will just look at me and go, what? Or
Yeah.
why? When I'm about to hype myself up to experiment because it just further reinforces that I shouldn't be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do
No,
it
I
because
feel
I
you.
am scared because I'm like, oh, I'll just have these people tell me that that's ridiculous and then I can go home.
Yeah. Well, starting anything late in life feels scary, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but a lot of people do it. A lot of
Yeah.
people start their careers late in life. A lot of people start their families late in life. Like, we have to, I think, absolve ourselves of this like perfect track of like
Mm-hmm.
boxes that you need to hit and milestones that you need to hit, because things come when they come,
Yep.
and so will you. You know what I mean? Like it's never too late for anything. One of my
Yeah.
favorite things in college was seeing like the Evergreen program, which was like older people who would come back to school to learn something new. And it's,
Yeah.
you never think, why are they doing this? You know, you think, oh, they want to learn something new because
Mm-hmm.
they're still alive, you
Exactly.
know? And I think we are fed this like crazy narrative that like if you are a woman and you are 30, you are done. You
Mm-hmm.
know, nobody wants you anymore. You better have your life established, like all that stuff. And it's so untrue. Um, Not that hotness matters, but you know, people are getting hotter into their 40s
That's
now,
right.
you know, and getting more into their bodies and feeling more self assured. And like, age is not something to be afraid of. Doing things late is not something to be afraid of. It's kind of exciting. Like, I kind of really appreciate the fact that I didn't come for so long, because
Mm-hmm.
it taught me so much learning it late. You
Yeah.
know, I wouldn't have been able to afford other people the same experience as me if I had it all figured out.
Right.
So I think that, yeah, like just letting go of the timeline and also sharing information with other people, which you are doing on this podcast, which, you know, you're doing the same work. You know, like a lot of people, they'll learn something. I had a friend that owned the Womanizer, let me start this entire podcast, never told me because she was embarrassed or she didn't want to help. I don't know what the reason was. Um, but I think gatekeeping information is like the
Yeah.
worst thing you can do now, and spread it, share the
Yeah.
wealth. Like, just because maybe it'll improve somebody else's sex life, that's good. Maybe that
Mm-hmm.
person, like we were talking about how it like informs the next person of like what you like. Maybe instead of just learning about what Whitney Cummings liked, it's like, oh, this is somebody who understands that other people have other pleasures. This is somebody who's been trained by someone to see the importance of their pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, you can definitely see that in partners too. Oh, you've been with somebody who like you really cared about, and like you care about me the same way. Like, that's lovely.
Yeah. What are you hoping for the collective energy and coming into the future? What's some positivity you can wish on anyone and everyone who comes or doesn't come yet?
World peace. Um, and yeah, no, I would want inner peace
Yeah,
for everybody. I want everyone to feel happy with themselves, unless you're Putin, in which case you don't get any more comes.
that's right.
Um,
Good
but
morning
yeah,
comes to everyone except for Putin.
yeah. No, I want everyone to feel satiated by themselves and stop looking for completion in other people.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice to have a completion with someone else,
Yeah.
but feel whole.
Yeah.
Um, feel your whole and feel whole. I don't know if you've ever seen the book My Missing Piece. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard of it? It's a Shel Silverstein book, and it's about this little Pac-Man shaped guy, and he's
Yeah.
rolling along, and he's searching for his missing piece the whole book, and he's trying on little triangles, and one's too big and one's too small, and one he rolls with for a while, they fit and they roll, and they feel complete or whatever, and then they separate. It's very it's just like, okay, yeah, we loved, we left, and the piece goes off feeling that he is complete by himself, even
Oh,
though there's still that section, quote unquote, missing. It's like,
yeah.
no, I like rolling along. And
Yeah.
yes, it is nice if somebody comes to fill that piece sometimes, but it doesn't make me feel like less complete when they're gone.
Mhm. I think what I would want, I had this really great brunch with some friends, and we were playing like this For the Girls card game.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up being brought up was a friend disclosing about pain that she was experiencing during sex. And we all just started to have this like really honest and open conversation about what we weren't talked to about sex, what we weren't talked to about how it should feel or anything like that. And I just wish
Mm-hmm.
that that was more the norm than all of us just like secretly just like seething and suffering or like just being around in confusion, if we had more brunches where people are like, well, how does it feel when this happens to you? And it's like, oh, it used to feel that way, but you should try it in this position.
Yes.
And that worked for me.
Yeah. So spreading information. Don't just spread your legs. Spread the info.
So many one-liners from this episode.
I can't help it. I'm a hornier Carrie Bradshaw.
You truly are.
Punny little bitch.
Yes, I am trying to shed away some of my Charlotte Miranda tendencies. Do you know how much of a bummer it is to like
I was
to connect with Miranda? You're like, that's who I connect with?
Yep.
Damn it.
No, I mean, there's two Mirandas. There's old Miranda and now there's new Miranda. And I separate the two. I think old Miranda, she is me. New Miranda, honestly, she's making some mistakes. Yeah. She's not doing the best, but these are things that happen.
Yeah.
And she's very lucky to have sweet Steve, who's just so roll over and like take it. And I'm happy that she's experiencing this like sexual awakening with Shay. I really am. I wish she had been more honest about it with Steve. Yeah. I wish that she had maybe listened to Shay's podcast a little harder and noticed that they are poly and known that was an option to open up with. But maybe that's something we'll see in season 2.
Miranda
sometimes you don't have to get it right to do it.
Miranda projected a lot onto Shay to fit Miranda's narrative of her own awakening, I think. Yeah. That's just
definitely. But Shay feeds into it because she's a fucking narcissist. But we think that they're great in bed.
We at least have been
having great sex.
We're told that.
Shay told us themselves.
They told us.
Great at sex.
I'm great at sex. Put it on a t-shirt. I hope that Shay just wears it on a button.
I'm sure Shay has many buttons.
I'm sure.
All right. That woke button. Woke moment.
Woke moment. Remy, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with me.
Oh, thank you for sharing your time with me. I really appreciate you being a listener and starting your own thing. I think it's super admirable, and I love this journey that you're on.
Thank you. Please let the tolerators know where they can find you, because for most of them, they should know where to find you, because I know a lot of them personally, and I sing the theme song a lot.
You sing the How Come theme song?
I do. It's so catchy. It's so catchy.
You need to rewrite it, though, because it's like talking about how I can't come, and it's been 5 years now, and I'm like, but I do.
But it's so catchy, and sometimes I want it as my ringtone. At least
you can get it as your ringtone. It's downloadable at patreon.com/howcome.
Thank you.
Actually, side note before I do my socials, Robin Kennedy, who's my producer, started as a companion, and her text tone is, I gave her like a shout out on the podcast once because when she joined Patreon, I was like, Robin Kennedy. So now when she gets a text, it's Robin Kennedy.
I'm so glad that Robin got to come and visit, and you all looked like you had such a really great time.
Oh, we had a blast. Yeah. But you guys, come find me. Come find me on the internet. Whether you're coming or not. I am Remy Kassimir, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. How Come Podcast is on all of those same platforms. If you're searching for How Come, it's just How Come with a little asterisk instead of the U, but it should come up in all of your players. We're on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. If you need to read with subtitles, I recommend going to YouTube. And you were talking about Disney princesses. We actually have some Disney merch where we combine old Disney characters with new hot and sexy sayings. So instead of my prince will come, it's someday my prince will come, but first I will.
Yep. There it is. And then tolerators, you know the deal. You should like and subscribe and leave a 5-star review, but you should also be following us on Instagram at Men I've Tolerated Pod. That's how you get the fireside link to come to the live stream shows of How I Met How I Met
Your Mother.
Right. To all the men I've tolerated before. Live, we've been doing art shares, poetry slams, a lot of fun stuff that relates to our guests and our episodes. So come check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I hope you have a wonderful day full
You
of
too.
cum and